the front of the stage, and so we'll ask everybody to please be quiet because we'll start with the Q&A. Okay, we have a timekeeper in the front. We'll have a total of 30 minutes for the Q&A. Again, these questions have been submitted by the delegates in attendance today. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. And we drew by lot to see who would start by answering the first question. So the first question will be answered by Dean Phillips, and then Adam, and then we'll just rotate who answers the question first. Okay, so we'll start now. The first question to the candidates again, Dean Phillips will answer the question first, then Adam Jennings. How do you plan to improve the national health care system?
My principles and values dictate that we should make the moral decision to afford health care to every single American, as I said in my speech, no matter your age, your income, your condition, or your geography. And I talk to too many people every week who are 1 illness away from bankruptcy, who cannot afford their premiums. 30,000, some people here die because they have no insurance in this country. And I'm about action, so I want to accomplish change immediately. And we've got to build a bridge to do so immediately. And I will vote for any bill, I will craft any bill that affords coverage to everybody in this country, that does not burden the middle class economically, that changes our care delivery model in this country to reduce costs because it is not sustainable, and equally importantly, so that we can reduce the cost of prescription drugs. I'll just wrap it up. I want everybody to know it's really important. I want everybody in this country to have health care whenever they need it. And I will vote for any bill, and I will help write legislation that accomplishes that everybody in this country has coverage, so that we reform the care delivery model because our cost is out of control, $10,000 per person in this country. We need to reform that. We need to reduce the cost of prescription drugs, and we cannot have a bill that adds 1 penny of burden to the middle class in this country. Republicans have already done too much of that. My intention is to prevent that and find a way to make it happen fast.
Well, like I was saying earlier, sorry, I'm a little loud. In Congress, we're in the how business. It's about solutions, and the thing is, we already have a solution to this problem. It's called Medicare. We've had it since the '60s, and it works. What we need is a single-payer system. Not only does it ultimately cost less, the outcomes are better. The only thing that we are doing by defending the current system that we have is by justifying and defending executive compensation, and that has got to end.
Next question. We'll start with Adam. What is your stance on funding charter schools?
This is actually a differentiating thing between the two of us. I do not believe in sending public tax dollars to charter schools and voucher programs. What the people in this audience realize is that charter schools are, in the state of Minnesota, classified as public institutions. They are, but you're missing the point. It's that when someone goes to a charter school, we're peeling those dollars away from education, and they're leaving altogether. And that has got to stop. What we should do is we should fully fund the special education mandate in 1972. That's where effectively used to decrease our student-teacher ratios, provide 0 to 5 education, stop the summer slide so we can have summer programs for low-income students, and thank you very much.
As I said in my speech, my foremost priority is public schools in this country. Not just for some, not world-class public education for some, but for every student in this country. And I talked to thousands of people in this district over the last year, many of whom have children in public schools, many of whom have children in charter schools, many of whom have children in private schools, and many of whom have children in parochial schools. I am not against the freedom to choose what is best for your family. I am wholeheartedly opposed to vouchers, everybody, because we need to keep the money in public schools, and not just keep the money in public schools, ensure more comes to public schools, and take great care of teachers, the most important profession in this country. And that is absolutely achievable, and unfunded federal mandates cost every one of us in this room and every one of us in this district $147 million a year. Our delegation should be fighting for those dollars and bringing them back, and I will do so.
Okay, next question. How will you address criminal justice reform?
We have, as evidenced by the events in the last election, the man who sits in the White House, the disparities, the way that the color of your skin, your religion, the way you pray, changes how you are treated in this country is despicable and has got to change. I believe that we should make instant changes, and I'll give you a good example. We have people, tens of thousands of primarily young men of color, sitting in jails or prisons in this country for having sold cannabis. And we have tens of thousands of generally white men now around the country making millions of dollars selling cannabis perfectly freely. If that isn't an injustice, I do not know what is. We can do better. We have a responsibility to do better, everybody. That's why I believe in truth, and I believe in justice and opportunity, because criminal justice is one thing, and then we talk about our penal system. We have got to invest dollars and resources in rehabilitation to afford opportunity to those who have been incarcerated. That's how this country becomes better, and we'll do it.
We need to change the laws. We need to take away the mandatory minimums that are currently out there that place the power in the prosecutors. Let's send it back to the judiciary. Let's change the laws themselves. I'm actually for legalizing marijuana. I don't think it should be illegal. But we should have very access to it. We should regulate it, and we should tax it. So should we make money off of it? But this is about sunset periods as well. People in this country that get charged with felonies when they're released from prisons have been sentenced to life. I think if you're a nonviolent criminal in this country and you get out of prison, you shouldn't have to report that on an employment application, a housing application. It locks you out of the system. The reason we have a citizen in this country is that there is no opportunity, and a lot of this is intricately tied to equity as well. And we need to provide communities of color an ability to actually have a seat at the table so that they can continue to play a part economically. That's how we
Do you support a federally mandated $15 an hour minimum wage for everyone?
Absolutely. I believe largely in collective bargaining rates and a living wage. But there's a caveat to this. If you're a small business, if you have fewer than 50 employees, you'll receive a tax credit so that you can maintain your bottom line. If you're a small business in this country, you live and die by your cash flow and your bottom line. And that tax credit would effectively allow you to pay your employees what you're paying them right now, but your employees would still be able to walk away with more at that point. Do this talk. Go ahead.
Union.
I'm going to have to punt. It'll come back up. Yeah, I know. Blinking right now. Very congressional.
Well, nobody who works hard in this country should live in poverty, and everybody who works hard in this country should be afforded a livable wage. Everybody, it is human decency. It should be an American principle. And my family has been doing this for generations. I keep a copy of our family business's employee profit sharing plan on my desk as a reminder of what comes first, employees. At my own little business, I pay $15 an hour, and every employee at Pennies. And it's not just $15 an hour, they get tips too, so most make over 20 because it's the right thing to do. It's not easy. It's actually hard, but it is a principle and it's a responsibility to do so. And we can do so. And I agree with Adam. Small businesses face a great challenge in this country, but we can. And I'll tell you, $15 an hour means something very different in San Francisco than it means in Wichita. And minimum wage is just one component of living in this country. Affordable housing, access. Yes. Everybody should have access to affordable housing. Everybody should have health care. We need paid family leave. These are basic principles that we've got to fight for, and I surely will. And our federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour right now, everybody. That's shameful, and yes, it has to be raised immediately.
Next question. What is your plan to address global climate change?
Well, we've got to migrate quickly from a fossil fuel economy into a sustainable fossil fuel-free economy. And I tell you all the time, we didn't leave the Stone Age because we ran out of rocks. We left the Stone Age because we came up with better ideas, and we have them. We've got solar, we've got wind, and we can do so. That's how we begin the migration. That is how we begin to address climate change. We should sit at the lead, at the front of the table to address this and rejoin the Paris Climate Accords. We have got to plug the loopholes in the Clean Water Act. 20 million acres of wetlands, 2 million miles of streams. My goodness, everybody, this is a unifying issue in the 3rd District. Everybody I speak with, everybody believes we need clean air and clean water, so we can come together on this issue, and we will.
The $15 an hour, that's supposed to be for Walmart's, the big corporations in the world. Nothing happens. I get to go back to the other question. Why not doing it? Because nothing happens. Then Walmart isn't going to follow our lead if we're a small business. If we're in Congress, you pass laws in order to mandate things to happen. Walmart actually walks their employees through assistance paperwork right now. They know for a fact they're not paying a living wage. That's a backdoor subsidy that we're providing to them. Let's take that away. Let's make them pay more so their shareholders aren't making as much, because Walmart already has as much as it is. When it comes to the environment, we just need accounting changes in this country. It's one thing to talk about how you want wind and you want solar, but if you don't actually have a plan or an idea, it's just like thoughts and prayers. It doesn't get anything done. Let's change the accounting standards and make carbon an expense. We will incentivize every single CEO, Walmart analyst, accountant, everybody out there in order to get something done, and that's primarily how we do it.
Proceed with the next question. We have an announcement from the credentials team.
I'm a local credentials person, since they're busy. These are the last 7 names for upgrading, and then we'll have a full delegation on the floor. It will be John Williams, Josette Sargent, I'm going to butcher this name, I apologize ahead of time, Odua Ojanwoji, Matab Khan, Jeffrey Mathwig, Mark Odegaard, and Michael Reinhardt. Please go to the teller room now so you can be upgraded so that we can freeze the floor as soon as we're done. Thank you.
No.
Okay, next question is, this person states, I have 6 grandkids in school. I worry for their safety in school. What is your position on gun violence?
We do not arm teachers, and we do not have armed security guards in schools. By providing contrast and standing firm on this, I am for banning assault weapons, silencers, bump stocks. We need to pass universal background checks. No fly, no buy. There are so many things. There are so many things that we can do, and the contrast that we provide. Eric Paulson has an A rating. One way that we beat him is that we stand up to the NRA and let them attack us. If we will pick up headlines, if we do that, it will create news, it will create contrast, and it will help us flip this district.
I say it all the time, thoughts and prayers don't save lives, everybody. Action saves lives. That's what we have to do, and we gotta do it fast. And I talk to teachers, I talk to students, I talk to people who protect our schools who carry arms right now, SROs, and I talk to unarmed security guards. I've tried to solicit opinions across the spectrum. And we have a responsibility to act and protect our kids immediately. We do so in just about every other venue in this country. We have an obligation to protect. I believe in universal background checks, everybody. Ban weapons that cause mass human harm in a matter of seconds. I believe over the long term we can save lives not just because of gun violence or violence, but because we have a responsibility to work mental health professionals in every school in this country. Congress just passed the omnibus budget bill that allows the CDC to study this issue and make recommendations. They didn't afford one penny, if you can tell them to do it, everybody. I would do so. But lastly, and most importantly, we will not be able to affect change until we reduce the influence of money in politics. The gun lobby, everybody, has these members of Congress in their pockets. It has got to change. I intend to do so.
What do you think the path to citizenship should be for immigrants?
I believe that the great promise of this country lies in its diversity. I had the chance to know two sets of my great-grandparents who told me stories of our family coming from overseas and being treated in many times the same way that I see now immigrants being treated in this country, and it makes me sick. We have a responsibility, every single one of us in this room, to be a compassionate America, to welcome people who come here for better lives and come here for safety, the same reason that so many of our families in this room came for. It is a responsibility to protect our children. I talk to too many families, kids, who go to school every day, worried that they may come home to one of their parents or guardians deported. That is inhumane. We are a better country, and I intend to bring those principles to Washington too fast.
We need a clean pathway to citizenship for any DACA or dreamer that's out there. Just right on the gate. I apparently need more carbs or something, but there's far too much of a risk. What we need is comprehensive immigration reform in this country. And we do that by taking a closer look at our visa system. I talked to somebody here in Eden Prairie who is a member of the Indian community. The H-1B visa, you can work on that and be on it for 15 to 20 years sometimes. You can have children in this country who are Americans, and then your visa expires and you need to leave. We need to streamline our visa system right now and get back to the words that were on the Statue of Liberty. Bring me your poor, you're tired, your humble masses, you need to be free. We have open jobs available. We need them to be part of the economic solution that's here. Likewise, those refugees that we've invited to this company, if you're part of the Liberian community, you should know that if you're here for a certain period of time, that this is going to remain your home. You shouldn't have to suddenly be told to get out after you've been here for 2 decades. The communities right now are eating our lunch on this. They guarantee about a 6-month, like if you come in, they will get you a green card in 6 months. We are going to start to lose our brain trust because people out there that are smart are going to go to Canada and they're going to go to Europe. And we've got to get this under control and fast. Thank you.
Okay, next question. Give us an example of how you have worked to support labor in our state. Not endorsements, but what action you have taken.
I unionized my staff. I'm proud of it too. Let's put our money where our mouth is. When I owned a small business, I was small. I was a micro business. Basically, it was me. I did all my own maintenance, but when I needed work that I didn't have the ability to do, I made it a point to contract with union labor as well, because those are good jobs. And that's what you do. You live by your values, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it is unions that are going to turn the tide on the corporations, which are taking everything right now and continuing to chip away. So we've got to do everything we can to pass laws to try and safeguard whatever decision might come out of Janice and AFSCME. in June, and other decisions such as that. And let's put stronger representatives on the National Labor Relations Board so that we have good representation out there.
Unions and labor and collective bargaining is the backbone of this country. I've been doing it my entire adult life, taking great care of people. Starting with that little pamphlet on my desk from 1944, our employee profit sharing program, paying people $15 an hour, taking compassionate care of people. That's how we build businesses. And I want to express upon others that that is the only way to do business in this country. Absent a compassionate Congress, we need unions to be even stronger. That's why I have received the endorsements, I think, of just about every single one in the state so far, because I believe in the power of unions. We need them, and we need to believe in them. And taking care of people is an American principle. An American principle, and that is something we need to advocate for much more strongly, and we will do so, and we will get it done.
Okay, next question. Will you support Native Americans in their efforts to stop pipelines crossing their lands?
You know, I intend to go to Washington to represent and advocate for every community who doesn't have a loud enough voice in Washington because they're not willing to pay the money to get in front of members of Congress. That's not how this system should work, everybody. And I intend to represent every community, every single community, that lacks the representation that it deserves and we should demand. And the answer is, it is those voices that may sometimes be quiet, but are the principled ones that we have even more of a responsibility to look out for. And that is true when it comes to mining, that is true when it comes to pipelines, that is true when it comes to anything that impacts the lives of those who are underrepresented. And that is often why highways go through neighborhoods that are less advantaged or underserved. And that's why pipelines go through communities that are less advantaged and underserved. And that is patently wrong. And I will be that advocate, everybody.
But there are a number of unions out there that advocate for pipelines. So we represent them as well. So I guess my stance on pipelines is that I don't think we should be investing in them. That's actually something I've involved in because I've learned that the amount of destruction that comes from an exact accident with a pipeline is significantly bigger than if you're using rail or trucks. So, and the money that you invest in a pipeline, that is a capital investment that you could take to underpin and start to invest in renewable energies in this country to further stem the tide and take us closer to clean energy. So, no, I don't believe in pipelines. I don't believe in Enbridge, and I don't believe in Polymat either. Our water resources in this state are too precious, and we can't take the risk.
College affordability.
Cap the interest rates. Anybody in here who's filled out a FAFSA, I was on it, all of that money is backed by the federal government. Because we are all paying for it and investing in our students, we can actually dictate what the interest rates are going to be. Furthermore, we should be able to declare bankruptcy in this country and get out from underneath our student loan obligations. When 60% of all bankruptcies in this country occur because of medically related debt, that creates a scenario where you have families that lose everything because they're sick. And then they're still stuck underneath a student loan obligation that is oftentimes more than a mortgage. You are relegating those families to a lifetime of poverty, and it is a debtor's prison by maintaining that policy in this country, and we've got to get rid of that.
I believe every person in this country who aspires to higher education should be afforded it one way or another. We have a responsibility to do so. You saw my birth father, Artie Peffer, on the screen earlier. The only reason he went to the University of Minnesota, the only reason he was able to graduate from the law school is through a government program, ROTC. And he ended up giving his life for it. We shouldn't demand your life for it, and we can do better. We should do better than we can. Anybody who has college debt, and I talk to people every single day in our district, 7, 8, 9% interest rates on their college debt. That is ridiculous. It should be lowered. It should be the lowest rate of interest that is possibly paid on debt. We should make sure that Pell Grants are a backbone in this legislation. We should ensure that Pell Grants are increased. We have institutions around this country, private and public, of higher education, that have tens of billions of dollars in assets. And I believe they have a responsibility, too, to ensure access to students, especially from underserved communities who have the desire to achieve the same opportunities and be afforded them that we offer. And I also ask one more thing. In New York State, Governor Cuomo signed legislation last year to afford 2- and 4-year educations to any student of families in New York who earn less than $125,000 a year. That's an example of getting it done. We should replicate that and make sure this whole country has access to it.
Question. We still have about 7 minutes left for the Q&A period, but before we move on to the next question, I am now giving the 10-minute warning for freezing the floor. That means that we have 10 minutes for all delegates to be seated within their delegations, so to be seated within their Senate district, and all non-upgraded alternates, so all alternates and anyone who is not otherwise a delegate or an upgraded alternate needs to leave the floor by the time we freeze the floor. So in 10 minutes from now, everyone needs to be seated in order to vote. So that'll give us about 3 minutes after the Q&A is over to start balloting. So just a reminder, if people are walking around, to start heading to their chairs now, because once the floor is frozen, you will not be able to come onto the floor to vote. Okay, so we'll proceed to the next question. The next question is, what will you do to get big money out of politics?
All right.
What will I do to get big money out of politics? Well, I'll tell you, it starts with applying those very principles to my campaign, which is to not take money from PACs, which is not to take money from special interests, which is not to take money from any federal office, and I will send back checks that members of Congress send me, because this is all a game of influence, everybody, and it is broken on both sides of the aisle, it is corrupting this country, and it has got to change. Citizens United wreaked havoc on this country, and we must address it. The best way to do so is through a constitutional amendment. That's going to take a lot of time. In the meantime, it is our responsibility, everybody, to start voting for candidates that are self-selectors, willing to make the change themselves and inspire others to do so, and go to Congress and be principled and be transparent. I also believe we have an engagement problem in this country. We should have a national voting holiday. It is the most important day in the year in America. And we wonder why pharmaceutical drugs cost so much. We wonder why we subsidize the entire world. Well, $250 million a year from pharma, lobbying Congress, and $30 million a year in campaign contribution is plenty enough to keep the status quo. I won't accept that, everybody.
Hear, hear. And that's why we need publicly financed campaigns in this country, similar to what we see in England. There should be a 5-month campaign period. When you're a candidate, you come out, you get your allocated amount of money, you can spend it as you see fit, but when you're not campaigning, you're doing the business of government. We need to pass short-term legislation right now to make sure that we have paths that are in place. We need disclosure requirements. I am all for Citizens United, but it's going to take 2/3 of both houses and 75% of all of our states out there. It is going to take years to get this passed. To somehow say that we can't accept PAC money in the meantime, all it does is it tips the scales for the benefit of only the independently wealthy. We can continue to take PAC money from institutions in areas that align with our values. We should not wrap the Koch brothers in the same category as electricians, as other teachers, nurses. They all have PACs too. And there are people out there working every day. They're writing $10 and $15 checks to make sure that their interests are being represented in Washington. And we need to make sure that we're including them in the meantime.
And then after this question, each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. Okay, so the final question, on which congressional committees would you like to serve?
The VA. As a former veteran and a person who was deployed to a war zone, it's extremely important to me. I provide affordable housing to homeless vets to help get them off the streets because I partnered with the VA. I want to take that to the next level, and we need to do everything we can for veterans in this nation. Congress also holds the power of the purse. So anything that is associated with finance, I want to be involved in that. That's actually where my training is an MBA as well. I'm an MBA in finance. So House Ways and Means, I know there's going to be an opening there. Would love to be in that. So generally speaking, that's whatever we can do, because ultimately, if we have more power in Washington, that also provides us better representation for Minnesota and the 3rd District as well.
Well, the truth is, as most of you know, if you are a freshman in Congress, you do not get to choose your committees. They choose them for you. And I will handle whatever my assignment is with the same principles and values I share with all of you today. And change can be effected in any committee in Congress. Like Adam, Veterans Affairs are near and dear to my heart for reasons that are probably obvious. Government oversight, because money in politics and the systematic corruption of our government is my foremost priority. And you know my principles. I want to affect healthcare and get it to everybody in this country. I want to change the corruption in Washington, and I will find a way to do so no matter what committees I serve on. That's my promise to you.
Okay, and now we have time for each candidate to give a 1-minute closing statement.
Well, most importantly, thank you. I've got 2 wonderful memories when it comes to snow. Thanksgiving of 1991, or I'm sorry, Halloween of 1991, and April 14th of 2018. The fact that every single one of you turned out today to practice the essential responsibility in our democratic republic is really extraordinary, and I'm grateful to all of you. I want to reflect on what this is all about. Whether Adam emerges today as the candidate to take on Eric Paulson, or I do, we've got a big task ahead of us. I make the promise, if it's Adam, I will do every single thing I can, every single day. In fact, I will campaign just as hard for him as I will for myself. Because what's really important, everybody, is that we flip not just this seat, but 23 other seats in the United States House of Representatives. And when we do so, change is going to come, and change is going to stay in this country. This country, everybody, got a wake-up call. We will not judge Donald Trump 20, 30 years from now. We will judge ourselves and how we responded to his ascendancy. That is how we are going to change this country. And it is coming, and I am grateful, and let's do it. Thank you.
We have choices in this race. That's the whole reason I'm running right now. I get asked the question all the time, what's the difference between you and Dean? And this is what it breaks down to. Healthcare. Healthcare. I'm actually providing a solution to you, a solution that will work. And I will tell you that if we go to Congress and we don't push for single-payer healthcare, we will get 100% of nothing if we don't ask for it. So if you want single payer in this audience, if that's what you're interested in, especially as delegates, vote for it. You can vote for what you believe in. That's the great thing about the caucus system. If you want a $15 an hour mandated minimum wage, like I have discussed here today, then vote for me. If you're worried about charter schools, and yes, charter schools are public schools, I understand that, but I actually bifurcate those 2 things. It's 2 separate things. It's not the same thing. Vote for it. We have an opportunity to get some things done. John did, and I will say, I'm probably going to go over when I say this, but I too will abide. I think Dean is an honorable guy. I think he's in it for the right reasons. But this is democracy, and the great thing about democracy is we have the opportunity to debate. We have an opportunity today to take a look at a couple different ideas. You get to pick. You get to pick what you want, and that's the beautiful thing about this country. So thank you very much for coming out today. Looking forward to it. We are going to flip the 3rd District in 2018. floor. Again, 3-minute warning. People can yell out in the hall as well, but in 3 minutes we'll be freezing the floor. Today we're going to be voting by Senate district, so please make sure you're sitting